How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and today I'm going to be going over a recent speedrun that I did of killing the Pugalisk on a very early day. So I believe it was day 4. Now this did happen a little bit in the past, and as you might notice by the quality of the video itself, this was something that I had initially streamed. So what you're going to see here, and I'm just going to give this as a little bit of a preempter, the first half of this video roughly is of stream quality, so it was originally 720p, but the second half I realized I was having a decent run, and so I started recording it. Now obviously the best solution going forward to this would be to always be recording. I know something like NVIDIA Shadow Play can go a long way to making sure you don't miss moments like this, but I've never really seriously considered it, so I might do that in the future. But yeah, at the moment, to be able to see the first half of this playthrough of mine here, you're going to be experiencing it in the high quality of HD. Full HD? No, not really. 720p. It's called HD. For some confusing reason, 720p is HD, 1080p is full HD, and then you get up to like 2K and 4K. So yeah, it can be misleading. So I was playing Wolfgang, that's the character that I chose for this, and for those who aren't aware, in Hamlet there is a boss on the 3rd island, I think it is. It depends upon how you want to classify them, but it's a big snake, and it's called Pugalisk, or however you prefer to pronounce it. It's a bit of a unique boss fight, but as you'll see towards the end of this video, it's relatively easy. Now, the playback speed of this video is ×2, because otherwise it would take 30 minutes to get through the entire thing instead of 15. And I thought that having it be a 15-minute long video was much more manageable. I know I could have done the full, I could have cut it up more selectively, but I kind of wanted you to see the entire thing, like all of the stuff that I did, all the mistakes I made and stuff like that, because I'm not saying this is perfect. I think that's important to note, is that stuff that I generally do isn't perfect, but sometimes I can edit it in a way that makes it look a lot better than it is. So maybe just being a little bit more transparent here in how I got to the place that I did, because I know in the previous video about sort of getting to the Rocks Island on day 1, I just cut out stuff to make room for it. So I've tried a few different things in trying to get this time down, and the one that proved to be most reliable, obviously, is to just go in there with Wolfgang and slap it to death, the Pugalisk. There are a few things you need to prepare for beforehand, though, and those are the items that I'm currently interested in obtaining. So you need an alchemy engine, because I used both types of armor. I decided not to go the way of using health foods, like stocking up on health food, and instead just get a lot of armor. Making food took a lot of time. You got to build a crock pot. You have to find the resources to put into the crock pot to make something like pierogi, or is it pierogi, however you pronounce that word. Apparently it's Polish, and I'm not all that familiar with the language. So I discarded that in favor of just getting more armor. And that's easy, because in the early parts of the game you'll find these pig heads on sticks, and they're similar to the ones that you'd usually find over in the swamp or something in regular Don't Starve, somewhere by the Merms, but in here they're located next to the Mants. Apparently the Mants are the primary enemy of the pigs in Don't Starve Hamlet, however you want to see that. And you can hammer these pig heads down to get the pig skin, which is needed for the football helmet. But the thing is, if you're playing as Wolfgang, you need to get to tier 2 of science with the alchemy engine to be able to craft football helmets. So it's possible to do it faster, because Wolfgang has a lot of health, and a simple log suit would probably get him through it, depending upon how well the boss fight itself goes. We'll go into more detail on the boss fight itself when you get a little bit closer to it, because there is a rather interesting strategy that I've been trying a little bit, and it seems to be kind of cheesy, but it's also quite effective. So that's the reason why I accidentally just stumbled upon it. And that's probably another disclaimer I should make. Pretty much everything that I know about Hamlet up to this point has largely come from me playing it, or from reading the forums for the game, or from people who mention things to me while I'm streaming the game, because this was obviously something I had streamed. There are others out there, obviously, who tend to watch what I do from time to time, who have more knowledge in certain areas of the game than I do. But I just want to make it clear that by and large, I don't really pay attention to what anybody else does. So obviously this is something that's probably been done before, and I'm not aware of it. So don't feel like I'm comparing it to anybody else's time or anything like that. I don't know, maybe the speed is a little bit too fast here. The thing is, I rotate my camera a hell of a lot, and I could understand that making it a bit of a dizzying experience. I could see you becoming dizzy watching this. But just slow it down, just play it at half speed. There, I've solved it for you. Because I think it was recorded at 60 frames a second. Pretty sure it's at 60 frames a second. So having it would bring you down to like 30 frames a second, wouldn't it? Interesting stuff. Yeah, so, I mean, what is the point of what I'm trying to gather here? I gathered a lot of stuff I really didn't need to. Anything that would be made into a recipe, for example, the gummy slugs, I don't need those. I didn't need to kill the 2 pogs that I killed at the very start of it. Like, those are things that I won't be eating. I suppose you could eat gummy slugs, but they're mostly used for a cake, and you need a crock pot to do that. So I'm down here in the caves, obviously, to get the gold. This is how I usually go about getting gold in the early parts of Hamlet, is to find one of these caves. I forget what they're called. They're called cracked something or other, cracked fissure, something like that. Whatever it's called, that's where I get the gold from usually. And the gold is really the linchpin here. Obviously, before gold comes flint. If you can't find flint, go ahead and check under those stone slabs that you flip over, or try to knock a dung beetle off of its ball. Those are both those fairly reliable ways to get the stone. And here is the pig heads. I managed to find it. Now, one thing, if you're interested in doing this yourself, to find pig heads, you're probably going to be wanting to keep close to the edge of the main pond. So on the first island that you spawn on, there is this lake area, and the biomes that surround it, in the jungle biome, there'll almost always be a mant den really close to the edge of that pond, and that will be the mant den that has these pig heads next to it. So it's really easy most of the time to find where those pig heads are, so you can knock them down and turn them into pigskin for a football helmet. And the hambat, that's another thing, because I do use a hambat for the fight, and that speeds it up as well, because you're dealing more damage with a new hambat than you would be dealing if you used, for example, even a halberd from one of the pig guards. You're still doing more damage with a hambat. So it's like one of the best weapons you can get at this stage in the game, in my opinion, and which is another problem. If I decided not to tech up to level 2 and use the alchemy engine, I would not be able to craft a hambat, which means I would be stuck using an inferior weapon, a weapon that is not capable of dealing as much damage. So I guess that's important to note as well. At this point, the science machine is up, so that's the first step here in completing this. And yeah, in regards to the speed of the video, somebody, if it's a problem, somebody please let me know. If seriously, contact me on Discord and let me know or something, or tell me on stream, because I don't really pay much attention to other stuff. So because the way I see it is that the big issues will kind of filter through. If something's a really big problem, people will go out of their way to make sure I am made aware of it. So that's the reason why I tend to put that kind of distance there, is because I want to only focus on what's actually important, and a lot of stuff just isn't that important, sad to say. When I say important, I mean important to me as well. So digging up, I probably over-prepared in terms of log suits. I did not need as many as I ended up using. The other thing is to get the boards for the alchemy engine. And the thing about these jungle trees is the snakes tend to fall out of them quite a bit. I remember when I was first going for a more pierogi-focused strat, basically getting healing foods and stuff, it's pretty unpredictable getting eggs from these trees. You can get eggs, obviously, but it's a bit hit or miss. Some games you're just really unlucky. That's the problem with anything that you do that's trying to, like, let's say speed run in Don't Starve, is that so much of it is dependent upon your world generation and whether or not you make lucky choices. If you are in a pig ruins and you're exploring it, do you take the path that leads to the other end of it immediately, or do you take detours and fall into dead ends? If you go down those dead ends, you're wasting time, and it's just usually through pure luck that you're going to choose the right path the first time. I've done it, obviously, but it's nothing you can really hone. There's no real skill involved in it, at least that I've noticed. There are no real patterns to follow. Yeah, so getting lots of stone. Somebody, was it Ranime? I think Ranime on the stream came up with some concise numbers, some easy numbers to go by here. It was 40 logs and 40, no wait, it wasn't 40 logs. It was 40 rocks, and maybe it was 40 logs as well as 40 grass, 40 twigs, like 40 of everything right down the list. And because of that, once you have 40 of everything, you don't have to memorize all these disparate numbers. It's much easier to keep track of. I think this was a failed idea here. I was going to kill these hippopotamuses, and I just decided to bail on them because there is a lake on the island that I'm heading towards. So I believe that's what I'm doing right now. You gotta find the pig ruins that has this artichoke type figurine on top of it. It doesn't exactly look like a Pugalisk. The good news is that this pig entrance is almost always next to that lake again on the first island. If you're on the first island, you found the lake, usually you spawn, when you first spawn, you spawn really close to that first lake, so it's relatively easy to find. And in the jungle biome that's adjacent to that pond, there should be, in the near vicinity, this pig ruins here with that artichoke. I don't know what else you want to call it. I don't even know what that thing is for, but this is the ruins you have to go into to get to the Pugalisk Island. And the good news is, like I said before, it is really close to the pond when you start. So you got things like mant dens with the pig heads and this pig ruins as well. Really close and usually pretty easy to locate. You're not going to have to explore an entire jungle biome to actually locate the pig ruins here that you need to use. So I found that to be really important to be able to do this quickly, but there's still going to be a lot of trial and error getting through the dungeons here. That's what you see me doing at the moment. I don't know the way through. If somebody knows of like a shortcut, a way to tell which, like if there was a compass that would allow you to sniff out the correct directions to take all the time, it would highlight certain doors that you could get in the early games to make this faster. That would be appreciated, but I don't think that such a thing exists. But here, it was pretty fast and I found my way out of it. So if it takes longer for you, then the speed run is no longer as much of a speed run, right? Because things are largely outside your control. And then here, I was trying to find the Pugalisk fountain, the Fountain of Youth, I think it's called. And I was not having a lot of luck. I kept wandering around. I was like, these biomes here, the way they match, the way they intertwine with each other is a little bit unusual. Where's the pond? I was looking for the pond. There's supposed to be a pond in this island, and I actually needed one because I hadn't killed any hippopotamuses yet. I needed the meat from the hippopotamuses to make my hambat. So it's absolutely essential that I kill a hippopotamus. I could kill a pig guard or a royal guard instead, but I decided to go with the way of the hippopotamus. They're usually okay-ish to kill, but sometimes they travel in packs and you can't split them up. And when that happens, if you've got 4 like hippopotamuses going after you, you're probably going to get hit by one. So you should probably bail on that attack until you can separate them again, because otherwise I'm going into this with just the health that I have. I don't have anything to really heal me aside from raw ingredients in my inventory. Whichever one of those manages to heal me, and for however much they heal me for, it's not a lot. And then so it's day 3. It's day 3. I'm making good progress. I'm thinking, right, we're up to tech level 2 with the alchemy engine right there. Gonna make my hambat. It's just been made. Gonna make the football helmet, and so that way I have 2 types of armor. In single player Don't Starve, you have compounding armor. So the first armor you put on, let's say, reduces damage by 80%, and then the second one reduces the damage caused by the 80%. So let's say you take 100 damage. The first armor deflects it by 20. It knocks it down to 20 damage, and then the second armor hits that for an additional 80%. So it really reduces the amount of damage that you can take in single player. This is something that does not exist in multiplayer, unfortunately, to my knowledge anyway. So we're almost to the moment of truth. The moment of reckoning. If only I was a little bit faster, I could have completed this in day 3, obviously, because it doesn't, once you get going with the fight, it doesn't take long if you know what to do. And what you want to do, and I'm going to be demonstrating this during the fight, is you want to be able to hit a vulnerable part of the Pugalisk while at the same time getting him to attack you with his head. The Pugalisk needs to be attacking you with its head, and when that happens, it will not use any other attack. So the freezing attack, for example, and the snake itself will stop. See, the head is attacking me at the moment, and and I'm knocking off. I'm hammering away at the one section of the snake that is vulnerable here, and it was almost over with before it began when it's like that. And you can see I hardly took any damage, which is why football helmet is probably not needed. It also was interesting of an idea if you use Wickerbottom instead to do this, because she has tech level 1 right from the get-go, so you would not have to make an alchemy engine and still have access to the Hambat and the football helmets. So that pretty much does it for my experience here, beating the Pugalisk, sort of speedrunning for it. I'm not exactly sure if I want to call it speedrun. It sounds a bit pretentious. Whatever you want to call it. I got it done by day 4-ish, in Don't Starve Hamlet with Wolfgang, and I think I could improve from there. There was obviously room for improvement, but I thought that was a pretty good effort for, not my first try, but probably done it maybe 5 times now at this point. So pretty decent early on progress, in my opinion anyway. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.